Hello everyone, welcome to this new video. Today I'm going to present the fourth sequence of the third year English program, Me and My Environment. Actually, I'm going to present the sequence fully. I'm going to introduce the initial situation. I'm going to show you the points you're going to tackle, the skills you're going to teach, including listening, speaking, reading and writing, and of course the sub skills, grammar and pronunciation. Of course, I'm going to show you all the points you're going to go through from the beginning of the sequence until the end of the sequence. That's what we call the sequence map. But as you may know, there is a new roadmap which has been actually posted by most teachers and inspectors. For my case, the inspector of Algiers, Mr. Belqadi. It contains all the lessons which have been removed from the fourth and the third sequence, and of course the other sequences, because of the temporary, I would say, conditions we are living. Actually, I'm going to show you the roadmap, which contains actually BQN 2, which has been added for planning future activities. The comparative of superiority, discourse markers as because, so, and if, and therefore, and pronunciation silent of silent letters, the fourth silent letters K, W, T, and H. And many teachers have asked me, how am I going to present the grammar items and the pronunciation items as well without context? How can I skip listening or reading and move directly to grammar? If you have noticed in the new roadmap, we have resources. In resources, you have lexes. In lexes, we have basic lexes related to the topic. It means that you're going to present or you're going to introduce the sequence. While introducing the sequence, you're going to introduce the topic of the sequence. Of course, you cannot make your pupils write at the end of the sequence. They do not know what is the sequence about. This is impossible. So, you're going to, personally, I'm going to present listening and present reading, or maybe not as it was supposed to be done, but actually I'm going at least to present something, a certain context to my pupils in order to present my grammar and pronunciation items. So I'm going to start the sequence by a quick, I would say, introduction of the sequence. So here we're going to talk about four important parts. Algeria's fact file, something very important you cannot skip. And your pupils are going to be motivated to know and to get information about their country. We're going to talk about national parks, something you'll be very brief while talking and introducing this national parks because it's optional, it's not really necessary. We're going to talk about natural species, animals, trees and plants. We're going to talk about the biodiversity of our country and of course, diversity of the species. And we're going to, of course, talk about environmental issues. And while talking about issues, of course, we're going to present solutions and, of course, solutions related to the protection of the environment. These are the main important points we're going to talk about in this sequence. Then we move to the initial situation. So, in the initial situation, of course, especially for this sequence, I'm not going to present I learn to integrate. I'm going to present only I think and write. I will tell you why by the end of the video. So my initial situation is going to be problematic for my writing lesson. My pupils are not able to write anything right now. They are just in front of a problem. So your school has selected you to be a member of the Eco School program. Write a list of eco principles, that involve clearing environment from litter, as well as the protection of endangered animal and plant species in your country. It has to be simple, it has to be feasible, it has to be realistic, and it has to be clear and explicit, so that your pupils know what are they going to talk about by the end of the sequence. Then, I'm going to move to the contexts, reading and listening. That's why I wrote scripts and texts. I'm going to skip some scripts and I'm going to present some scripts as reading. So first, I have decided to start my sequence with a reading lesson. and I'm really free. If you want to start with a listening lesson, you're free. So I'm going to make my pupils read. Why? I'm going to tell you why. First, to fill in the fact find, this is something very new. And my pupils have to see, especially for the number, for the large number, 2 million and for the surface. I'm going to make my pupils read because they are going to be lost if I'm going to make them listen to the national parks. How many national parks do we have? 8, 9, 10. They're going to be lost. So I prefer to make them read. It's like an additional culture for them, additional information for them, additional in their culture and in their background. So I'm going to make them read. Not necessarily related to the tasks. I'm going to make them read in order to know the national parks. But for the first part, it's compulsory. They're going to fill in the tasks 1 and 3, and of course move to the 6th task on the book. These tasks are related to the reading passage. Then I'm going to move to another reading passage. Here I'm going to talk about animals. And here I will make them read too. When they read, I'm going to ask them questions, of course. It's a reading lesson, don't forget. So we have to present it as a reading lesson with questions, true or false, not mentioned, answering questions, direct, indirect questions, WH questions, yes or no questions, synonyms, antonyms. Why not talking about, why not summarizing the text by the end, or talking about it orally? So you're free to present the reading lesson the way you want. And then just after that, I'm going to include the pronunciation lesson in the reading lesson. I'm going to introduce, I'm going to present the silent letters K, H, W, and T. And then after that, I'm going to move to the grammar lessons. Of course, based on what I have presented in my reading lesson. Try to contextualize your grammar lessons. I'm going to present these course markers as, because, so, and therefore. I'm going to present the lesson of expressing strong obligations with must, expressing mild obligations using should. So here they are somehow related to animals, so I have to make sentences related to the wildlife, related to the protection of animals, related to the endangered, vulnerable animals, and so on. So I have to make context. After that, I'm going to move to listening. Here it should be listening because it's a conversation. So when you present to when you make your pupils listen to a long passage, they will be really, really bored. They have to listen to a dialogue, not to a long passage. That's why I have presented the long passages as a reading lesson and listening as and dialogues as a listening lesson. So here my listening is going to be about Eco Schools, which is an international program that involve millions of school children. I'm going to explain, of course. And here we have, are going to make them listen to the BBC interview of the UK Eco School representative. After they listen, we're going to move to pronunciation. Of course, you're going to include and integrate the pronunciation lessons in the listening. Consonant sounds J and J, of course, these have been removed from the new planning. Just have to adapt, as I said. And intonation in questions. After that, I'm going to move to the grammar lessons. I present the imperative for advice or recommendation, be going to form as an added lesson, and comparative of superiority. After that, I move to reading. If you like the texts that are presented in the book on page 137 and 139, it's okay. If you want to bring your own text, it's okay too. After that, I move directly to I Think and Write because frankly speaking, this is an instruction which is supposed to be done in I Learn to Integrate. I preferred to make it in I Think and Write and skip I Learn to Integrate. So here it's the same instruction as the initial situation. Now your pupils, after getting all this information, after talking about protection of environment, after getting the structures of the different target items, grammar items are going to be able to write a list of eco principles that involve, of course, clearing environment from litter and, of course, finding ways to protect their environment. They're going to check guideline on page 142, and they're going to write, of course, 10, why not more and not less, eco principles. Of course, it has, you can do it in pair work, group work, or individual work, or free. I cannot say that I think Android must be done individually, not necessarily. Here, I learned to integrate lesson. Of course, you can present this lesson as an I learned to integrate and I think Android at the same time. As I said, you just have to apply this video according to the new roadmap in order to be able to be in harmony with the authentic updated planning. Of course you have to cope with the conditions we're living and the new plannings we're receiving. Thanks a lot for watching this video, my dear followers. I hope it was really useful. If you have any questions, leave them in comments. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.